They keep asking me the same question. When will you settle down? When will you have kids? And every time I just smile, because they'll never understand. I don't want a crowd around me. I don't dream of little feet running through the house. I just want her, only her. The one who makes everything else fade into the background. The one who makes silence feel warm and loneliness disappear like it was never there. You see, it's not that I don't love the idea of family. It's that she is my family. When I imagine the future, I don't see noise or chaos. I see peace. I see her sitting beside me, wrapped in my hoodie, sipping coffee while watching the rain outside. That's all I need. That's my version of forever. And maybe people won't understand it, but love isn't about following rules or expectations. It's about knowing exactly what your soul needs. And mine only needs her. I remember the night it hit me. She was sitting across from me at dinner, talking about something completely random, laughing like she always did. And for some reason, everything around us went silent. It was like the world slowed down for me to realize, this is it. This is the person I've been searching for, without even knowing it. Her laugh, her eyes, the way she plays with her hair when she's nervous. It wasn't just attraction, it was peace, disguised as a person. Sometimes, late at night, I think about what life would have been if she never walked in. And honestly, I can't imagine it. Because before her, I was just existing. Going through days without meaning, smiling at people while feeling empty inside. But now, every moment has a purpose. Even the quiet ones. Even the fights. Because at the end of it all, she's still the one I want to come home to. People think love is about building something big. Houses, families, dreams that fit society's image. But love, to me, is simple. It's waking up and realizing that just one person's presence can make your whole world feel right. And that's her. She doesn't have to do anything special. Just being there is enough. Sometimes she asks me, half jokingly, what if I can't give you everything the world expects? And I always tell her the same thing. You already have. You gave me yourself. Because how do you explain that when you find your person? Nothing else matters. You stop chasing what everyone says you should want. You stop comparing your love to anyone else's. You just hold on to what's real. There's this quiet moment every night when the lights are off and she's resting against me that I whisper softly, you're all I ever prayed for. And even if she's asleep, I hope her heart still hears it, because I mean it, with every part of me. I don't need the world's version of happiness. I've already found mine. Sometimes I think about the future, not in years, but in moments. The small ones, the ones people overlook, sitting together watching the sunset, holding her hand while we drive, with no destination, laughing at nothing until tears roll down her cheeks. That's what forever looks like to me. I don't need a legacy. I don't need to be remembered by generations. I just want to be remembered by her, the one who saw me when no one else did. They say love changes you. And they're right. It made me softer. It made me care about things I used to ignore. It made me realize that being complete doesn't mean having everything. It means having the right person. And she's that person. My reason, my calm, my chaos, my peace. Every time I look at her, I realize that life doesn't need to be complicated. We make it hard when we start measuring love by what it can produce instead of what it makes us feel. But when I'm with her, I don't need proof. I don't need labels. I just need her to know that she's enough. I know people might never understand this kind of love, the one that doesn't chase what the world defines as success, but that's okay, because I'm not living for them. I'm living for her, for the way her presence makes everything make sense, for the way she looks at me like she sees something good, even when I can't see it myself. Maybe one day she'll ask me again, if I ever wanted kids. And I'll smile, touch her hand gently, and say, no, because you're everything I ever needed to love. And that's the truth. Raw, simple, and real. I don't need kids. I don't need anyone else. I just need her, her laughter, her warmth, her silence, her chaos. Because when you find the one who feels like home, you stop searching for anything else. Every heartbeat, every breath, every late night thought, it all comes back to her. And maybe that's how I'll spend the rest of my life, not building a family the world expects, but protecting the love my heart chose. Because in her, I found everything I was ever looking for. And maybe tonight, when she falls asleep again next to me, I'll whisper the same thing I always do. Softly, almost in a prayer, you're my forever, and I don't need anything more than this. Sometimes, when the night grows too quiet, when the world outside slows to a whisper, I lie awake and just look at her. The way her eyelashes rest on her cheeks, the way her breathing steadies like calm waves, the faint smile she makes when she dreams. It's in those still moments I realize something deep. This is all I'll ever need. No laughter of children echoing down the halls. No grand house filled with noise. Just her heartbeat, steady and soft against mine. That's the only sound my soul craves. People talk about legacies, about leaving something behind when you're gone. But what if your legacy isn't in people or places? What if it's in the memories you leave with someone who truly knew your heart? That's what she is to me. My living legacy, every smile I put on her face, every tear I've ever wiped away, every word I've whispered in the dark, they're the proof that I've loved completely. There was a time when I thought love was about building things, careers, dreams, plans for the future. I used to chase goals, thinking they'd fill the emptiness I carried inside. But when she came into my life, she showed me something no achievement ever could, that peace isn't found in success, it's found in connection. Real love isn't about owning anything. It's about belonging to someone's soul, without conditions, without explanations. I remember one evening, we were sitting on the balcony, the city lights glowing far below us. She was quiet, her head resting on my shoulder, and I could tell something was on her mind. After a while she whispered, "Don't you ever wish for more?" Her voice was soft, unsure, almost afraid of the answer. I turned to her and said, "How can I wish for more when you're everything?" She smiled faintly, but I could feel her heart questioning itself. People often do when they love deeply. They wonder if they're enough. So I told her what I always wanted her to know, that love isn't measured by what it gives us, but by what it changes inside us. Since she came, I don't see the world the same way anymore. The things I used to think mattered, don't. The things I ignored, like silence, warmth, stillness, they've become everything, because she's the reason I learned to slow down. She's the reason I learned to breathe again. There was another night, it was raining hard, thunder echoing in the distance. She was sitting by the window, watching the storm, lost in thought. I walked up behind her, wrapped my arms around her, and felt her body melt into mine. She didn't say anything at first, and I didn't ask. But then, in the quiet, between raindrops, she whispered, "Do you think love like this lasts forever?" And I didn't know how to answer immediately, because forever is a big word, it's a promise, even time struggles to keep. But after a moment, I said softly, "If it's real, it doesn't end. It just changes form. Maybe one day it becomes memory. Maybe one day it becomes peace. But it never disappears." She turned then, looked at me with eyes that seemed to hold galaxies, and smiled through the tears forming in them. "That's all I needed to hear," she said. That moment stayed with me, because that's when I understood. Love doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to shout or prove itself. Sometimes it's just two people who understand that no matter what the world says, they belong together. And maybe that's the purest kind of love there is, the kind that doesn't need to make sense to anyone else. There were times though, when she'd doubt. She'd say things like, "What if one day you wake up and realize you wanted more than just me?" And I'd always shake my head and smile, because she didn't understand she was the more. I didn't want to fill my life with things. I wanted to fill it with moments with her. The way she talks when she's sleepy. The way she hums softly when she cooks. The way she reaches for my hand without looking. Those little details are the life I always dreamed of. Sometimes when I'd travel, even for a few days, the distance would ache. Not because I missed her face, but because I missed her presence. That feeling of home she carried with her wherever she went. I'd find myself scrolling through our old photos, her smile, her silly faces, the candid moments she didn't know I captured, and I'd think to myself, how lucky am I? How lucky that out of everyone in the world, I found the one soul that feels like mine, and every time I'd come back, she'd run into my arms, like she'd been waiting a lifetime, even if it was just a few days. That's what real love does. It makes time feel different. It turns minutes into years when you're apart, and years into seconds when you're together. We once went walking by the beach, late at night. The waves were soft, brushing against our feet. The stars scattered above us. She looked at the horizon and said, "If I could, I'd stop time right now." I looked at her and replied, "Me too, because there's nothing beyond this moment I'd rather have." She smiled, and in her eyes I saw everything. The life I wanted, the love I prayed for, the peace I never thought I'd find. Sometimes she'd talk about what people expect from us, how everyone keeps asking when we'll start a family. I'd laugh gently and say, "We already have one, it's us." Because love doesn't need to multiply to be meaningful. Some loves are meant to be quiet, complete, and whole on their own. There's a certain kind of love that doesn't shout. It whispers. It doesn't need to prove. It just exists. Strong and sure. That's what ours is. I don't need the world to understand it. I just need her to feel it. Every time she looks into my eyes. Every time I hold her close. Every time I say nothing but mean everything. And maybe years from now, when time starts to take things away, the color in our hair, the strength in our hands, I'll still look at her the same way. Because love like this doesn't fade. It doesn't grow old. It just becomes quieter, deeper, more sacred. Sometimes, late at night, I whisper to her while she sleeps. If I could live this life again, I'd still choose you every time. And maybe she can't hear me, but I know her heart does, because even in silence, our love speaks. And maybe that's why I don't need kids to carry my name or continue my story, because she already carries it, in her smile, in her laughter, in the way she loves me back without needing reasons. She's my legacy, my beginning and end, my everything in between. And if someday, when the world asks again why I never wanted more, I'll just smile and say because she was my more. She still is, and she always will be. There's something about nights like this, when everything feels still, when the only sound is her breathing next to me. I stare at the ceiling sometimes, just thinking, not about the world, not about plans or dreams, but about her. About how strange it is that one person can become the reason your entire world makes sense. I used to think love was complicated, full of rules and expectations. But she made me see that love, when it's real, feels effortless. It's calm, it's quiet, and it's certain. She doesn't even know how deeply she's changed me. Before her, I was always searching for something. I didn't even know what it was. Just this emptiness that followed me everywhere I went. I had everything I thought I wanted, but somehow nothing felt complete. And then she came. Not in a dramatic way, not with fireworks or fate-like moments, just quietly. She appeared, and suddenly, everything in me started to settle. It's like my soul recognized her before my mind did. Sometimes she asks me, "What do you see in me?" And I never know how to answer that properly. Because how do you explain something that goes beyond words? It's not just the way she looks or talks, it's the way she is. The way she feels like peace after chaos. The way she listens without needing to fix everything. The way she makes ordinary days feel meaningful. She doesn't realize it, but she's the kind of woman who brings color back to things you thought were lost. The kind of soul that makes silence feel beautiful. And every time I see her, I'm reminded that this, her, us, our quiet love, is all I've ever truly needed. Sometimes she talks about dreams, about wanting to travel, to explore, to see the world. And I always tell her, I'll go wherever you go. Because it's never been about where I am. It's always been about who I'm with. She laughs when I say that, but she doesn't realize I mean it. I'd follow her anywhere, into any city, any country, any life, because she's the only home I've ever known. There was one night I'll never forget. We were sitting on the floor, surrounded by the mess of unpacked boxes after moving into our new place. She looked exhausted, her hair tied up loosely, wearing an oversized shirt. Yet I couldn't stop looking at her. There was something so pure about that moment, so real. No filters, no perfect lighting, just her tired, beautiful, and mine. She caught me staring and smiled, asking, "What?" I shrugged and said, "Nothing. Just thinking how lucky I am." She rolled her eyes, laughed, and threw a cushion at me. But there it was again, that look she gives me when she's pretending not to blush. Those are the moments that stay with me forever. There are times when she falls asleep before me, and I just lie there watching her. I trace her face in my mind, the curve of her lips, the softness of her hair, the peace she carries in her sleep. And I feel this ache inside me, not an ache of pain, but of gratitude, because I know what it's like to live without her, to wake up feeling incomplete, and I never want to go back to that. She doesn't know how many nights I've stayed awake just whispering to her quietly, telling her all the things I can't say when she's awake. I tell her how much I love her, how much I need her, how thankful I am for her presence in my life. Maybe she can't hear me, but I like to believe that somehow, her heart. Sometimes I wonder what she dreams about. Does she dream of me, of us? Or maybe of a life we'll build together, one filled with quiet mornings, shared laughter, and the comfort of knowing we belong to each other. We once had a conversation about children, about whether we'd ever want any. She looked at me, half curious, half uncertain, and asked, "Don't you ever wish for more, like a family?" I smiled and said, "I already have one." She frowned for a second, not understanding, and then I took her hand and placed it over my heart. "This is where my family lives," I said softly. "It's you." Her eyes softened then, and she didn't say anything else. But in that moment, I saw tears glistening, not of sadness, but of realization, that maybe she finally understood what she meant to me. I know some people won't understand, that they'll think it's selfish to not want kids, to just want her. But love isn't something you measure by what you add. It's something you feel by what you give, and what we have, it's already complete. I don't need to expand it, to make it more meaningful. I just need to protect it, to nurture it, to keep choosing her every single day. There are moments though when the world feels too loud, when people ask too many questions, when responsibilities weigh heavy. And on those days, I come home to her, and everything stops. She doesn't need to say much, Sometimes just her touch, her silence, is enough to remind me that peace still exists. She's my escape from everything I can't control. We have our small rituals like making coffee together every morning. She always takes too long deciding how much sugar she wants, and I always end up guessing wrong. She laughs every time, saying I'll never get it right. But I don't mind, because even those tiny imperfections make our life feel perfect in its own way. And at night, before sleeping, she always says the same thing. Promise me you won't ever stop loving me. And every night, I whisper back, I couldn't stop, even if I tried. It's a quiet promise, but it means everything. One evening, we were out walking after dinner. The streets were quiet, the lamps glowing softly. She held my hand tighter than usual and said, "Do you think love ever fades?" I looked at her for a moment before answering. "Love doesn't fade," I said. "People just stop paying attention to it. But I won't." She smiled at that, but there was something in her eyes, a mix of relief and fear, like she wanted to believe it, but needed to hear it again. So I stopped walking, turned to her, and said it again. "I won't ever stop." She looked at me for a long time, then leaned her head on my shoulder and whispered, "That's all I needed." And that's what love is, isn't it? The reassurance that no matter what happens, someone will still choose you. That even when time changes everything, the heart that loves you stays the same. There's something powerful in that kind of love. The kind that doesn't need grand gestures or fancy words. Just quiet consistency. Just presence. Just two souls who understand that they're each other's piece. Sometimes I imagine us, years from now, maybe sitting on that same balcony, gray hair, wrinkles marking our faces, but still holding hands the same way. Maybe still laughing at the same silly jokes. Still finding comfort in silence. And I know then, I'll still feel the same way, because she's not a chapter in my story. She is the story, every page, every line, every unfinished sentence. It's all her. And I don't care how long the book is. As long as she's in every part of it, there's something about her that makes life feel right. It's in the way she talks softly when she's tired, or how she looks at me when she thinks I'm not paying attention. It's in the way her presence fills the empty spaces in my heart, the ones I didn't even know existed before she came. She once told me she's scared of growing old alone. I smiled and said, "You never will. Because even if time takes me away one day, she'll never be alone. She'll always have a part of me. Every word I've said, every memory we've made, every promise I've kept. And if she ever doubts again, if she ever wonders what she means to me, I hope she remembers this. I don't need kids to call it a family or anything else to make life feel full, because when I hold her, when I look into her eyes and see my reflection there, I already have everything I ever wanted." Maybe that's the secret. No one tells you about love. It doesn't always look like what people expect. Sometimes it's not about building more. It's about realizing you already have enough. And she's more than enough. And even now, as I sit here watching her sleep, the moonlight spilling across her face, I whisper to myself again, I don't need anything else. Just her. Every night. When everything goes quiet and the lights dim, I find myself lost in the same thought again. Her. It's strange how one person can take over your mind so deeply that even silence feels like her voice. I don't dream of a perfect life. I don't imagine a big house or the sound of little feet running around. No, none of that matters to me. What I crave most is her presence. Her laughter filling the room, her head resting on my shoulder when words fall short. That's all I want. That's all I need. Sometimes I think people wouldn't understand. They might say, you'll change your mind someday, or you'll regret not having kids. But they don't know what it feels like to find someone who completes every missing part of your soul. When you've already found your peace in one person, you don't go searching for more. I already found my everything in her. The thought of raising a family doesn't warm me the way her smile does. It doesn't touch me the way her touch does. Every moment I picture my future, it's just her and me. Maybe sitting on a balcony, watching the sunset. Maybe traveling somewhere far where no one knows us. Amazing Vincenus, just two people who love each other enough to make the world disappear when they're together. That's my dream. That's my forever. Sometimes I sit and wonder if she feels the same. Does she ever think about me the way I think about her? Does she know that every heartbeat I have is already hers? There are nights when I stare at the ceiling, tracing her face in my mind, the curve of her smile, the spark in her eyes, the way she laughs softly when she doesn't know I'm watching. And in those moments, I realize no future plan matters if she's not in it. People talk about legacy, about leaving something behind for the next generation. But for me, she is my legacy. Loving her, taking care of her, standing by her side through every rise and fall. That's what I want to leave behind. That's the life I want to live. Because when you've met someone who changes the meaning of happiness itself, you stop measuring life by milestones. You start measuring it by moments. By the sound of her laughter, the way she says your name, the warmth in her eyes when she looks at you. Sometimes I see couples with children and I smile. Not because I want what they have, but because I already have my version of joy. She's my home, my heart, my world. And even if the world doesn't understand that, even if they question why I chose her over everything else, I'll never apologize for it, because the truth is, I didn't choose her over everything. I chose her as my everything. There are moments when I imagine her beside me in the morning, sunlight spilling over her face, her hair messy, her eyes still half asleep. I'd whisper good morning, and she'd smile without even opening her eyes. That image alone is enough to make my entire day feel complete. I don't need a crowded house or loud laughter filling every corner. All I need is the quiet sound of her breathing next to me, the calm in her presence, the kind of peace you can't buy or replace. Sometimes I think about growing old with her, not in a sad or scary way, but in a beautiful one. I imagine us sitting together in silence, our hands still finding each other like they always did. Maybe the world would change. Maybe we'd lose things along the way, but we'd still have us, and that would be enough. Because she's not just the love of my life, she's the reason I understand what love truly means. There are people who dream of raising children, teaching them values, passing down stories. But me, I just want to grow with her. I want to learn her. I want to understand her heart more deeply with every passing day. Because she's not a chapter in my life. She's the entire book. Every page begins and ends with her name written all over it. Sometimes I get scared. What if life separates us, even for a moment? What if distance or time tries to steal her away from me? That thought alone shakes me. Because without her, I'm just a body walking through days that feel empty. But with her, every second feels like purpose. Every heartbeat has meaning. That's why I never ask for more. I never ask for what I don't need. All I want is her. I remember once, standing under the night sky, thinking about how people wish upon stars. And that night, I didn't ask for success or money or a long life. I just whispered a single wish. Let her never forget how much she means to me. Because that's my biggest fear. That one day she might doubt it. That she might not realize how deeply I love her. How much I would give up just to keep her happy. If love was measured in sacrifices, I'd give it all without hesitation. I'd walk away from every plan I ever made, if it meant being with her. Because she's not just part of my future. She is my future. She's not my dream girl. She's the reason I stopped dreaming of anyone else. There's something magical about the way she makes me feel alive, without even trying. Sometimes I see her in my thoughts, just sitting there, unaware of how beautiful she looks when she's lost in her own world. And in that moment, everything inside me whispers, that's the one. That's who I was made for.